Shalom! Oh, shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sal Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I am thrilled and delighted to be here on this Shmini Atzeret, the day before Simchas Torah, to finish off the big old Sukkot holiday. And the reason I am here is because not just to celebrate with you, not just to, let me fix my dollars here. And by the way, if you want to join me later, I will be rioting in Cedarhurst. I brought a lighter, and I'm going to set fire to a gefilte fish, my friends. This is going to be my protesting everything that's going on in the world right now. And what we are doing is we're waiting for a comedian, and I know that's the old sexist term for, she's going to be with us right this second. Let me tell you about this comedy human being that is joining us, I hope, and let me put her on gallery view when she comes in. And, pretty picture there, but are we just going to, let's see the face.
Hello.
Oh, that's the face. Shalom.
Hello, shalom. How are you?
Oh, I am fine. What is that thing? Does that have batteries in it? What are you talking into there?
This is my microphone. Oh, wow, that's really loud when I do it. That's very loud, isn't it?
Oh my God, I'm not going to make the joke, but ladies and gentlemen.
I know. Please, it's too early on a Saturday.
It's too early.
How are you today?
The lovely, thank you for asking. The lovely person we're talking to, let me give you a proper introduction, is Tammy Pescatelli. She is a comedian who has been several times on Last Comic Standing. She is a former morning radio host. She has had a special on Netflix called Finding the Funny, and we hope we will find the funny today. And you will, I'm going to also ask about this a little later, you're going to have a column or something if they revive the Weekly World News. Because
we actually have one right now online.
Well, well, anyway, welcome, Shalom, Tammy Pescatelli. Talk about the Weekly World News.
Well, the Weekly World News is amazing, and we all remember it at the counter when you would go to check out when we were children. It was fun, and it had Bat Boy, who I just got this word. I don't get political, but Bat Boy is running for president. He's right wing and left wing. That's what it is.
Wings, this is funny to me. Yes, well done.
Yeah. Yes, and they're trying to revive it. So they have a Kickstarter campaign. I think you can actually, this is one of the levels, but it's fun and it's light. And there's so much angst in the world, and there's so much, just brokenness that I wanted to participate. I mean, that's why I became a comic, to make people laugh. And now it's hard to make people laugh because we're not allowed to actually go out. I had a tour to Israel, as a matter of fact, canceled again because Israel shut down again.
That was a hot spot. You don't want to. Want to go in. I mean, it's always hot, but.
Right, it's always hot. And it's always, it depends on where you go. In it whether. But we just I wanted to make people laugh, so I said, let me partake in this. This will be fun. Let me exercise my comedic chops. Let's talk about some fun things. And
what kind of stories have you been writing for the resuscitated Weekly World News?
Well, first, let me say this. The Weekly World News calls themselves the world's only reliable news. Okay, and my story. It was so many. We're on week 5 now. But like some of the ones I wrote about were the zombie who was fired for not wearing a mask. What part of I'm already dead don't you understand?
Because it used to be biting, but now a zombie, all you have to do is breathe, and the zombie droplets get on you.
That's right. So it's just been a lot of fun. And I'm just trying to have some fun with it and enjoy it. I even started, I'm so grateful to be on your podcast because I'm one of the few comedians, like literally you said all that stuff. I've done the Tonight Show 7 times. I had the week that the world shut down, I had a special come out on Showtime, a new special come out on Amazon Prime. I was on the Today Show, getting ready for another Tonight Show, and boom, the world shut down. So I just wanted to have fun. I even started a podcast based on that column called News from Abroad.
News from broad. No, I noticed
right.
the
That's right.
verbal comedy of Tammy Pescatelli. We got the wolf
Oh,
whistle happening. This is
oh boy, somebody who can't see very well. Who's there?
no,
Is it a great grandfather? I'm sure.
but let me ask you a question here. First thing that I don't understand necessarily is that you are Tammy Pescatelli, and yet that is neither your birth name, your maiden name, it's not your husband's name either. Where the hell did the last name come from?
It was my grandfather's name. He came to this country, and as lots of immigrants did I think he came in 1937. He changed his name to make it more Americanized. So he took his sponsor's name, and then Pescatelli, it's actually Biscatelli, is his last name. And one of his biggest regrets was that he let it go. You know, that was a generation that they came here, they changed their names to make people think that they weren't really, they wanted to trick people into thinking, yes, I'm part of this culture. But meanwhile, you're still 3'2" and have a heavy Italian accent. Like, they really didn't blend, you know?
No, my great ancestors, their name was Solomon Heimanowitz. So I shortened it. Somehow people still peg me as Jewish. I don't know why.
That was my managing company. I used to say Mora, Bresner, Steinberg, and Tannenbaum. But those were 5 people.
Yeah. Did anybody encourage you not to have such an Italian name or persona, or did you're of an age already where they would say, no, be yourself, pick the name you want? No,
because don't forget, I'm 26 years in this business. And they did say, why would you use Pescatelli? Why would you? But I did that even personally. I took Pescatelli personally just to honor him because I was so close with him.
But would they have told you, be Sandy Powers, let's say?
Well, I said, that's what, sure, people said that, but look at this nose. I was never going to change this nose. So why? I said, do you think that I'm going to walk in and we're going to trick people to think I'm Tammy Johnson? I mean, look at me. I look middle, I look Jewish when I'm in Israel. Some people do think that I'm Israeli. Some people think that I'm Italian. If I'm in Greece, some people think that I'm Greek. But I have a, Mediterranean face.
If I'm in Greece, I just need towels all over me because it's just dripping off me.
An ethnic girl, and I embraced it, and I refused to change. And so I said, you know what, we'll just go all the way to the 10th power. Let's make sure that we have it. So,
well, is being Italian the gift that keeps on giving? Is being ethnic in terms of being a comedian? Is it always, I don't know what to make a joke about. I don't even know what to do. Oh, wait, I'm Italian. There's always something.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, when I first started, all I did is I was a narrator, basically. I just told stories of my family. That's why I seem to do well in all ethnic groups, because when we grow up, the way we grow up when you're an ethnic, now that's why I get so upset now, because they throw us all in one bland category. When you grow up Italian or Jewish or Greek, or even some of the Russian cultures, and we have these, everybody knows that the guilt is ridiculous. Okay. There's always a brother that's doing better than you. There's always a sister that got married first and had the babies, and you what's wrong with you? How come you don't have to for the wedding?
At all. My wife has 21 and a half. I've got none. So I'm still.
I see. And I said to, when people started saying trolls on the internet and things like that, and I even wrote a joke about it. I said, you have nothing on me. A troll who doesn't know me is nothing compared to my Nona sitting down at dinner relating all my flaws and foibles.
Speaking of trolls, what is your method of controlling hecklers? So if you've been in the business 26 years, you must have had drunk people in the crowd. You must have people who were like, show us your boobs, show us your elbows.
Yes,
I get elbows a lot.
Yes, no, for real. That's one. It's because, yes, I started as a young girl, so I had to really fight really hard. And I just always went in. I just went in for the kill, because this is how I make my living. What I just kept saying is I would not just let go. People always said that I was like a rabid dog, because if you heckled me and I got you, then I would turn around and keep bringing it back to you. And I tried for a while to be kind, but then when I know that the audience can't take it anymore, then it's fun for me to go in, because then I know I have everybody behind me. So I don't really rip into people unless they bring it first.
Have you ever been frightened, though, that someone you went after on stage who was a little beyond just a little drunk and heckly, but might be a little, and then you go out after the show, the parking lot, and whatever. Have you ever been worried about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when I was younger, because I didn't have my voice enough to say to a club, I need security to walk me out, or because I had to. It's funny, early on, you almost had to make yourself smaller as a woman in order to work, because I didn't want to seem needy. You didn't want to be known as a diva. So I tried to blend in with the men. And a guy wouldn't say, walk me to my car. So as a woman, I would try not to ask for anything special. It's very poignant that you heard that in this story, in this crazy story that I have.
But let me also ask you, you mentioned being in the business 26 years. So this was kind of after that giant wave, I think, or was it during, that carried all these people into sitcoms that were just every other building on a street was a comedy club.
Yes.
This was during the down after that, or was it during?
Yes, of course, because everything that happens to me, I mean, is always just after. I always show up the day after they sold the winning lottery ticket. That's who I am. Yes, I'm writing a book called Death by Paper Cuts, because it's like every day it's always small insights, small little.
Actually, you know, it's funny. I have an uncle who had prostate cancer by paper cuts.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. It's not a funny thing.
But we laugh anyway. But
yeah.
so
because that's the thing. By the way, that's the other thing that I think that this younger generation coming up is missing. We laugh not to make fun. We laugh to forget. And they're not allowing us to laugh because they're criticizing each step. Like comedy is under a microscope now, because it's being seen in 30-second clips, and it's not your specific audience. Like, I'm not supposed to entertain 7 generations. I don't want the world to love me.
Oh, I want the world to love me. I want everybody to love me, and they all hate me. It's horrible.
Well, you know, but you want a specific demographic to like you, you know, because who are you if you want everybody? You say nothing if everybody loves you. That one of the best things, Buddy Mora, who was my manager, and those guys were Buddy, David Steinberg. He's still alive. He had some amazing. He's Bette Midler. He's got amazing. I was so
Another
blessed.
Jew. Yes, keep mentioning Jews. I love
it. Great. Avi
it.
Lieberman. I have to say hi to Avi Lieberman because he mentions me in all of his. But he said to me, when you get off stage, they should know what you think. So if they're driving home and they think, what would Tammy say about that? They already know. And so that's who I've tried to really become. Who I am on stage is me, but again, to a larger degree.
But where do you stand in terms of what people are calling censorship in comedy, or self-censorship in comedy right now, because you can't make a joke about X, Y, and Z? I mean, do you feel that there should be any boundaries, or with comedy is just like, you know, let all the cattle out of the ranch, and if some wander back, that's fine? I have no idea what that metaphor means.
You know, and I know you and I don't look like I would love to see the two of us go to a ranch together. I think that's a show that would be a hit show for everybody. If you and I go to a ranch, we're...
I have hoofing mouth by the first afternoon. Get me out of here!
That's where,
I would brand myself accidentally. It'd be terrible. Yeah.
They're definitely gonna leave for sure. No, here's the thing. For me, I do think that there's a level of sensitivity you should kind of have and try to...
Even as a comedian. Even
to some degree, but I fight for whatever any comic wants to do, because their intent is to make people laugh. So if you start with censorship is a slippery slope to a lot of other problems. So I don't think we should censor anything. Personally, would I go out and make a joke about something? God forbid a plane crashes, right? And would I go out that night and tell airline material. That
Right.
wouldn't be me, but somebody might, and that's okay because that's their style. But mine, I'm talking about how annoyed I was that that my mother-in-law wishes she bought me a plane ticket for that day, if anything. So
That's very funny. That's very,
you know,
no.
oh,
So,
my
but let me
mother-
also ask you, and again, getting back to being at 26 years ago, a young girl in the business. I mean, did you ever have to look at like Louis C.K.'s penis? Did you ever have to deal with stuff like? No, I'm serious. Did you?
Look at the background. There's only in paint by numbers. It was the weirdest thing.
Well, his is only like 4 numbers. You would
That was
see
the
it on
weirdest thing. I did a
camera.
paint by numbers once, and it turned out to be Louis C.K. No, I'll tell you what happened. Early on, the very, 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 very first weekend, used to have to stay in comedy condos, is what they call them. And for those who aren't familiar, you obviously they had, it was just an apartment, and it was a filthy apartment, by the way, half the time. And it was 2 or 3 rooms, or usually 3, obviously, because there was an MC, a feature, and a headliner. And my very first weekend, I'm just an MC. I'm asleep. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and the feature act is pounding on my door. Let me in, let me in. And I wake up, and I'm kind of
Not on the front door, but on your bedroom door.
on my bedroom door, because I'm now living for the week in order for me to work Tuesday through Sunday with 2 strange men. Okay, so he's pounding on the door. Let me in, let me in. And the Italian word is bumbleed, when you wake up and you don't know where you are, and and so I'm all bumbleed. I don't know what I'm doing. And I say, what? And then as I wake up, he's pounding, and he says, I said, what's the matter? What do you want from me? And he said, I want to,
Oh my God! He wanted to daven with you. He couldn't find 9 other Jewish men, so
he's like, I want, and I said, get away. And it's clear he's drunk. Then the headliner came out, and he's a magician. He actually has a wonderful show in Vegas now. His name is Mac King. God bless him. He deserves what a mensch. He deserves every good thing that has ever happened.
Well, more than a rabbit out of his hat, let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, you know what he did? He had a brick in his act that he would go, oh, that fell over like a brick, like he'd do a joke and then drop the brick all of a sudden out of it. And he had the brick in his suit. He came out. He was a small guy, like little, but he came out with the brick, and he told the guy, go back to your room right now, get away from her door. Then he pulled me aside the next day, and he said, if this is what you want to do, then you're going to have to be tough. And because there's not always going to be somebody there to protect you. You don't even know if that person could join in. So I got tough. That day I told the guy the next day, I said, because don't forget, we didn't have cell phones. So I said, there's one phone here in the kitchen. And when your wife calls on it, I'm going to tell her what you did the next time. So I'd watch yourself. And then I started, I never dated comics because I knew I'd have to live with them. And you could never know what someone would say about you, and your reputation could get sullied. So I just said, hey, and so when people would say, oh, I dated her, the other guys would go, no, you didn't, because she doesn't date comics. So I just kind of kept everything separate, and I just tried to put my head down and work. That was a different time. Female comics, we just put our heads down. We worked. We wanted to be like the guys. They say, was there masculine toxicity?
Actually, the guys wanted you to put your heads down, but not work.
I'm sure that's exactly what he was trying to get in the bedroom that day. But I tell you, they always go, there's toxic masculinity, and I'm like, well, we were just as masculine, the female comics of that generation,
Which is kind of interesting because, and yes, being a male, I'm dwelling on the being an entertainer. I'm dwelling on the sex stuff and the stuff that you're a hot girl and kind of. So you were a cheerleader at one point.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, I was all through high school, and that's what was fun about my new special called the Way After School Special. We went back to my old high school. And that was fun. And I performed in front of all my old friends and some of the teachers who were still alive, because and my vice principal, I had a teacher or a guidance counselor in 10th grade. I said, I'd like to be an actress. And she said, I grew up outside of Cleveland, Ohio, a small little town. And she said, you're from here. No one from here has ever been on TV. If you want to be on TV, you're going to have to rob a bank. So
Ooh. I thought she'd say like move to New York or something like that, or
yeah,
California.
no, so it took literally it took 24, 23 years before I went back and filmed it. And when I went to tell her off, she was dead. But
Oh,
whatever. It's the idea. It's the idea.
she was actually dead holding a puppy dog. It was kind of
Yeah, she was so sweet. She turned very sweet.
but that is there that sense of when people go back to for their high school reunions and college reunions and things, and going back to your was there a sense of validation even though the one person you wanted to show up couldn't show up? Was there that sense of, hey, I'm a successful person in a field that doesn't have a lot of successful people in it necessarily? A lot of people fall by the wayside because it's a tough field. Did you walk in and stroll in and go,
It was fun for that. I will say that was truly one part of it. Just if it wasn't even to show off, it was more to show myself, hey, I did it. Because there was a lot of times that I didn't believe in myself. When you go through a career like this, I'm not a legacy. I didn't have anybody in show business. No one from my family came from. My grandfather came here and had a fruit cart. The other ones worked on the docks. My father played football. My mother was a nurse. It's no, there was no.
When he played foot, was he an NFL kind of a?
Those days, yes, semi-pro, and then he became a teacher, and then he then he was a regional manager for New York Life. But I mean, I grew up in just a regular family. I didn't have any show business. When I said I wanted to be in show business, and I took a map and said, all right, I'll see you later, and left. They didn't know where to find, I went around with an atlas. So yes, there was that. But you know what else was great for me is I wanted to show the kids that were at that school that it is possible, because if I would have had one person who was like me, I wanted to make myself accessible. I had the kids who were in the art department and in the theater program work alongside of the professionals who filmed my special, so they could ask them questions, so they could be on it, so they could graduate with a credit already on television. So that was fun. And we set up a scholarship, and then it was fun to just make the town laugh,
Absolutely. By the way, we're talking with Tammy Pescatelli here on the Dave Lefkowitz program. I'm Rabbi Sal Solomon, of course. And if you're looking at your screen and not sure who's who, Rabbi Sal.
If we do this sideways, no one's going to know because my beard will show.
Well, when you were in school, what would kids have thought you would have become? What did you, did you have a fail-safe job? Like, if this stand-up comedy thing doesn't work out by the time I'm 30, let's say, I'll be ...
Yes. Well, that's what happened to me. I think that guidance counselor took the wind out of my sails, and I went to college for fashion design, although still creative. But yeah, I was going to work somehow in the fashion industry, whatever it was. I mean, who knows? I could end up just being a department store. I could have been the greeter at Walmart at some point. Who knows? But that's what I wanted to do, although I never got to pursue it.
By the way, do not look down on that. I have been not a greeter, but a chaser away at Walmart.
I'm not looking down on any job right now. Trust me. Well,
so I haven't making pissy in the aisle. I'm like, get out of here. They hire me to do that. They're making trouble. I'm the chaser away at Walmart. You can steal that joke.
You're the pilot. You pilot up over here and you pilot up over there.
Well, that's very good. Let me ask you though. Yes, it's a ridiculous, crazy time to be in almost any profession that is entertainment oriented. So how have you been managing the past 7-8 months?
It's been hard, and especially me because I am not one who gets cast a lot. I've done a few. I recently had just done my first lead in a movie, and of course it came out during COVID. So that's it. Like I said, death by paper cuts. So most of the way I support my family is through performance, live stand-up, you know what I mean? And I've just been able to, thank goodness I put a lot of stuff away. I had worked really hard. I had put some money away. We kind of coasted on that for a while. And there's been enough, just a very few shows that I'm able to do for corporations over the internet. I can't do those big shows that everybody's doing over the internet. They do regular stand-up shows because I just put my special out right before it happened. So I'd rather you watch my special where comedy is comedy and sex they're not meant to be over the internet.
Where you were going with that?
No. So it's just, we're trying. I've been writing for a lot of people, which is good because a lot of people were just lifting my material anyway. So it's nice to have some.
Here we go. Oh boy. We're heading towards the Amy Schumer mill now. So this is.
Oh, what was that? A baby doll?
We have a noise-making machine here. This is fantastic. This is the most beautiful thing ever. Listen, there's different horrible noises on it, such as.
I think my son had that, and it drove me nuts when he was little. He's 12 now, so that's great.
So I'll keep this handy during the rest of the interview. Hold on.
It's good. Keep it in the plastic so you can return it because you're going to want to.
We're Jewish. We keep everything in plastic. Our couch is in plastic.
Italians too, trust me.
Yeah. The bed, the lamps have plastic all over them. There's literally nothing you can touch. It's like we were wearing masks before we were. It's
the museum, right?
What the hell are we gonna? What was I gonna ask you? Ah, shit. All right.
I don't know, but it's just
fun.
Yes.
The joke stealing thing, quote unquote. You went out there. I mean, you basically accused Amy Schumer of
no,
no,
I didn't. Here's the thing. Really, honestly, it's the true story is 3 other people did it prior to me. I was 4th, but I was the lowest ranking on the totem pole, if you will, in show business. So when it all settled down, I said as much that, hey, we love you and we want you to do well. Just do it with your own material, because I wasn't saying, the fact of the matter is there were several dozen incidences of linear thinking, if you will, or
parallel thinking was the phrase I said.
And there's clearly, when you have that much parallel thinking, a period needs to be put at the end of the sentence, and we need to kind of figure out and regroup. To me, the unfortunate part is I didn't have a publicist. I had just had my son. I'm sitting around in my house in Pennsylvania, and I was an easy fall guy. I didn't start it, but I was the one that ended up being the face of it. And then, of course, I mean, I also am Italian, and I am the loudest, and I say it the way I say it. And what I was saying was not mean. I have no personal problem. God bless Amy. All her success, I wish her the world, and her family and everything else. The only thing is that when a comic, it's not about her. It's the rules of comedy. We used to police ourselves. And what is unfortunate, here's what's really unfortunate, is where I was really wrong is I should have quietly backed them up, maybe behind the scenes. We did it on the internet. We took it all down off of Twitter, but it was early when we didn't know the power of that kind of stuff. We did take it all down, but by then people were screenshotting stuff, and I don't know if it was a slow news week or what, but it became like people love to see women fight, and it's not about
in Jello.
Right. And it was like, it wasn't a personal thing. It's not personal. This is business, and people, this is my material.
Forget even the personal. I mean, it's a heavy thing to accuse someone, male or female, of a certain kind of plagiarism. And then again, if it's the Bob Dylan thing, if he writes a song where he's quoting 3 lines from a dead poet from 100 years ago, and then the whole melody is taken very obviously from another song, Bob Dylan will say, it's in the ozone and it's still my own composition. I don't need.
It's a little bit different than that, though, because this had been several times where several comics had taken her aside and said, hey, that's my joke. And it was always met with, I'm sorry, didn't know. So you know what? God bless. She deserves all the success, and it just shouldn't have been public. That's where I was wrong. I should have kept my mouth quiet in public and just dealt with it behind the scenes.
Do you do all your own writing? Because some comedians, they do tell other people's jokes, but they pay for them. They have writers who craft.
That's right. I do my own writing, but that's probably because I can't afford anybody else to do it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do my own writing. It just feels comfortable to me. Doesn't mean that it's the most brilliant in the world, but for me, I like to know where the joke came from. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about, my mother-in-law, and I say, how many times was she going to call my house? And then I answer the phone and she says, "Who is this?" Who is going to be answering the phone at this house? Who is married to your son, right?
Like that could be a parallel thought for some other person. Since your comedy is universal, and since all ethnic families are kind of the same, it's very possible there is a Jewish or a Black comedian who's going to think of that thing. What is it? Every time she says, "Who is it?"
That's very true. Here's the problem with that thought, though. Here's the problem, and this is this is the last thing I'll say, because an Academy Award winning writer. I told you all those wonderful names that I have had. I was blessed to come into this business around people who had been in this business for a long time. And they were, Larry Bresner was part of that group, and he was still alive at the time, and he carried.
Is that a Jewish person?
Well, Larry was Melissa Manchester's first manager at the time, you know what I mean, and was married to her for a long time. And they have Robin Williams and Billy Crystal, and Robin even was alive at the time. And I went and sat over there and sat quietly and crying because this was all coming down on my shoulders. And I was told by Larry, who is, an Academy Award winning producer for Arthur, he said, the thing is when people can have parallel thoughts, but none of us think. For example, there are so many books at the library on dinosaurs, right? Nothing's new on dinosaurs in hundreds of years. But none of those books have the exact same information in the exact same sentence structure. And that's where the difference came, because the things would come out in the same sentence structure with just the tweaks. But I don't think when we go back and you have the helicopter picture of it, I do not believe that it was one person. I think, personally, I think Amy was left holding a bag from writers who went and lifted things. And took it to her. And that's where it was
necessarily has her ear to a comedy club is what I'm taking that. It's probably a little more filtered.
Well, I really originally thought, listen, I don't smoke, and I don't know that she does. I don't know who, but I do know people. I know I got a cousin who's a stoner, and he thinks he invented the lawnmower, so you just never know what's in the annals of someone's mind.
Well, I mean, I guess lawnmowers do deal with weeds. Terrible. I'm sorry. I apologize. I do apologize for that. Still, some more questions for the delightful Tammy Pescatelli. Let me ask you, you talk about when you came up, who, and there were people who did help you and mentor you. Do you have comedy idols? Well, I'm thinking, of course, Joan Rivers, maybe, or Tony Fields, perhaps, but who did you look to?
Well, for me, it was very difficult. It's funny because when I was coming up, there weren't a lot of young women for me to look at who were my age. So,
Rudner, maybe.
Sorry?
Maybe Rita Rudner or.
Well, but Rita was older. She was talking about her husbands, and so I'm like in my 20s, and there wasn't a lot. And it's funny. It's exactly where I am now, talking about my husband and the facelift that I'd like to have, and all this stuff. So it's I didn't have a lot, but there were, and a lot of the women that I love, the Paula Poundstones, the Ellen, the Elaine Boozler. Like Elaine Boozler truly to me was one of my favorites coming. Carol Leifer, because they were able to be women and sarcastic. I love sarcasm. Like I wish I could tell joke pop 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 pop, that rhythm, that pop pop pop, or the fast underling like Ellen does that, that so passive aggressive. Yeah, Wendy Liebman, that's amazing. But Elaine Boozler and Carol Leaf are two of my absolute favorites because they were just killers, and still are, by the way, still are.
So, and is there a comedian that you'd like to give a shout out to in terms of someone who really, like the guy who protected you with a brick, but somebody who has like really taught you, this is how you set up a thing, this is how you come off the stage, you need a look, you need anybody who really mentored you?
Nobody really did that, but so many were able to help me by just giving me work. Dom Irera, okay, yeah, John Panette, who passed away, Louis Black in the beginning, George Lopez took me on tour. So many amazing comedians did some really nice things for me because it was just work. Work begat work. If you could get me work, then the rest of it, and then there'd be tags out. But the one who gave me the most advice, I was 10 years already in, but who really helped me was Mitzi Shore at the Comedy Store. Mitzi really took me under her wing, talked me through things. She wanted me to go on stage in a slip and a sweater, a la, all the Italian, Sophia Loren, Gina Lollobrigida, with a glass of wine. That's what she wanted me to do. But I said, I'm not real comfortable with that. But
did you try it one night? Because,
I did, because I wanted to please her.
Right. Did it work? Or did you feel like, nah, this ain't gonna?
It just didn't feel, I'm tough, It felt too feminine for me. And even though I'm a woman, I'm a broad, like I'm a tough broad. And, it just felt I was exposed, trust me, but I felt really exposed because I didn't have my armor,
Well, that very first time you walked out on stage to tell jokes, 10 years earlier, let's say, or 11, 12, I mean, what got you through? What would you remember that night and where it was? And
it was money.
Your first gig, you got paid? You didn't do like...
Oh, no. I won a bet. So my brother, when I graduated from fashion design school, my parents had moved out of the Cleveland area. And they lived in a place called the Quad Cities, which was like Iowa and Illinois. And I had nothing to do for that summer but hang out with them because I had an internship in New York in the fall. But when you're 21 years old, it's hard to make friends. I'm spending the summer with them. My brothers are not little, but they're in high school. They're younger than me. So I got a job at the comedy club because I loved comedy. I thought I'll watch comedy. I was a waitress, the world's worst waitress, but at least I'd meet some young people, hang out for the summer, and then I'd go to New York. Well, the very first week I was there, a woman came through, and it was the first time I had ever, it was almost like that moment in those horror films when they meet the vampire and they go, "What are you?" I had never seen a woman my age. It was a young girl, and she was an MC. And in my own quest, I went home and I said, "Oh, I think I'm funnier than her." And my brothers went, "Oh, really? We'll bet you." And they put their money to, "We'll bet you $50. Well, I'm a college kid. I need $50. So I was like, "Okay, I'll bet." And then I went on stage. And the first joke I ever wrote was one of the things I used to say at nightclubs, because you can't tell now. And listen, my breasts used to sit very high. Now I just like to die before they hit the floor. That's my goal of happiness. But, in a time before breast implants, where people used to say to me at the nightclub, "Are those real?" And I'd say, if I'd had that kind of money, don't you think I'd have had my nose fixed first?
Oh,
right?
Deprecating. It's got everything you need for the rest of your life as a stand-up comedian. It's got the tips. You've got it all in there.
Right. And then, by the way, don't feel bad, because then when I had the money, I said, I have the money now. I just don't want to lose the joke. So
well done. And I'll bet that first laugh you got with lines like that, and that first thing, you're like, Was it addictive? Was it just like you stood up there shaking like a leaf, but then a little laughter comes through and like, I'm doing this?
Well, I was too naive to be afraid, I think, because I was the person in the plays that if you forgot your line, I would improv you through. And in my head, I've always just been able to rationalize things. I thought, well, if I forget my act, who knows? What's the worst they could do? Not laugh at me. All right, then this isn't for me. So I was really lucky that first time. It was sponsored by a radio station, and they asked me to come in and and sit in on the morning show and kind of co-host, play around co-host. They had several comics. Then I did well. Then they asked me to come in as a regular co-host. Then it became my show. Then I was a host. So that's how.
Oh, that was the radio thing. Yeah. Do you miss radio? Do you miss, being up there at 4 a.m?
Yeah, no. I did it for 2 years. It was 2.5 years. It was great because I called it comedy college because I was an MC, house MC at night at the comedy club. And then on Friday mornings, I would ask the comic to come in so I could interview them. And then I would take them to breakfast afterwards and pick their brain. And that's how I knew so many people when I quit when I quit and went on the road full time in 1994, I was able to boom right away, work 32 weeks because I knew so many people.
That's absolutely.
Not enough to have a great career for the rest of my life, but definitely.
Well, speaking of the rest of it, what are you planning on? They just yesterday said that Broadway won't be opening until like May at the earliest. Is it? So what is your schedule? What are you going to do? What's still do what you're doing? Are you planning on some kind of gigs in, let's say, fall of 2021 or what?
Well, right now we have everything scheduled for spring of 2021, winter and spring. So hopefully, because not everything, I travel all over. So not I have literally a gig in November in Omaha. I have a few things in December. Not all the world is shut down the way, like the country is shut down the way New York and LA are. Yeah.
So in Omaha, is it a virtual? Is it people in cars watching, or literally?
No, it's a real show, and because it's a beautiful thing because they had a capacity. I'm really blessed that I'm at the point in my career I was. Who knows where we go back? But I would be in small theaters or larger comedy clubs, so they can hold 600 people at their comedy clubs. So at half capacity, they're 300.
So you can still get. But thing is, that going to be weird in the sense because one of the things that they do, speaking of Broadway, is when you do a show, you keep it cold and you pack everybody to you. You want the theater full, even if you have to give away tickets. You want people sitting next to each other because bodies they clap together. Yes. You're going to be staring. No, because families will still sit together even if they're distanced.
Right, they can sit with their own. And I swear to you, it's so bizarre as I saw it kind of trickle down. And I heard it's so different in every state by state. My son is going to full day, all day school here in Northwest Pennsylvania.
And he's 47 years old. It's very
47. It's a weird
at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, but full day, all day school, and that's so bizarre to me. And I had a choice to try to figure out whether I wanted to send him or not. But in our little community, they had only had 3 cases.
Alibi. Alibi is from my people.
That's right. Yes,
stay that way,
I know. Trust me. Look, you see, this is still on from Jerusalem by the wall.
Yeah, did you read that specifically for me? No. But
no, it's been on for 2 years. It hasn't fallen off. God bless me.
Wait, will you shower with that thing?
Everything. It just stays on.
They
tied it on as I left the wall, and it's not fallen off yet.
Yeah. Although it was white when you first put it on. Wash it a little bit.
It was this thick. It was a sleeve. This was a sweater. It seems impressive until it was a sweater.
I remember when something else with this thick, I'm telling you. But we're talking with Tammy Pescatelli. Just a couple more, if you have a couple more minutes with it, because I do.
Can I tell you what I did? This is my dining room, but I took a picture of it just in case my dining room is a mess. So this is actually the green screen, but
I can tell because on the very, very edge of your green screen, it's sort of fading in and out blue. But you have better green screen than most I've ever seen, quite honestly.
Well, I took a picture of my real dining room, and my husband was laughing so hard at me. He said, "Why would you do that?" And I said, "Because this way, I'm not trying to put on. This is our house. It's not a big deal. People want to see where you live, and they want to see your house, but it doesn't always have to be clean."
It's a wonderful backdrop. It really, I could tell. You can just barely tell from your hair and the very edge of the screen.
And right here.
Yeah, but no, it's. Look at that. Look. Whoa.
That was weird, right?
The weird thing is I fade in and out, and I'm not using any green screen at all.
Who's the lovely voice that I hear laughing with you?
This is the wife of the producer of the program. Her name is Joyce, and she's.
Hi, Joyce.
She says, hi, Joyce. Joyce, say hi back.
Tell her that I live with an actor, so I know it's important to react.
Joyce lived.
I heard. That's awesome.
Shout, you tell her.
You tell her the menopause.
What menopause story? I never had menopause.
No, there was a.
This used to be white. Maybe that's why.
We were at a fringe festival. There were two women with guitars from Australia in a room that should have had 1,000 people. There were 5 of us, and nobody laughed except me. And afterward, they called me up and they said, "We appreciate the laughs."
Oh, how sweet! Yeah.
Because the Fringe Festival, sometimes they put the wrong kind of act in the wrong room. So an act that would have been perfect in like a 50-seat theater in the round was literally in an auditorium that was 1,000. I don't know this personally. I'm remembering from Dave telling me. But it was in a giant room, and there were 5 people who showed up for the show.
Somebody said you should tell Tammy she's delightful.
Someone should tell me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. You know, I think that's the one thing I think has happened. I just mentioned this to a friend of mine who's a comedian. I guess I needed humbled. I think a lot of comics, maybe we needed to appreciate what we do, because it became about how many tickets you sell, how much money you're making, and maybe it needed to be broken back down to going, this is a necessary thing. Comedy really is an essential. We should have been called essential workers.
Yes.
You know, I needed to appreciate that, okay, maybe we will only, instead of selling 600 tickets, we'll only sell 300, but I should be grateful for that 300. And those 300 are going to need to laugh more than.
Right. And they will need to pay double.
3,000.
You're
yes. Well, and then, that's the other thing.
Yeah, I have to apologize.
I think as a community.
Yeah.
Did it fade out?
I
heard it. Yeah. It's weird. You know what happened? Like, where are you right now? I mean, I know you're in New York. What part of New York? What borough?
I'm in Long Island. You can't tell from the accent. Long Island, New York. Uh-oh, you're frozen.
In
She's
New York, because we have, well, my husband's family's all in Park Slope in Brooklyn, and every time a plane goes over, we lose our Wi-Fi signal. Oh, that's weird, right?
So was there a plane there? Was it like?
No, I'm. Do you know where I am? I'm in Northwest Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Yeah, when I got pregnant, we were in Los Angeles, and I thought, oh, this will be a lovely place to raise a child. We don't have family, but the weather's beautiful. And I was taking a walk and rubbing
something. Wait, you're uh-oh.
So we went to Brooklyn.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Now you.
About 4 months. Oh.
I'm Tammy. I'm only happy that this is happening late into the.
That's right.
Yeah, because we've talked
right.
for some time now. So we maybe, unfortunately, I want to end this a little early because you're breaking up there, and breaking up is hard to do, as Neil Sedaka says. Oh, now you're back. Now it's wave you away. But everybody, go read Tammy Pescatelli. Do you have a?
Tell her the name of the book.
What book? No. Well, do you have a book?
Oh no, I'm writing a book right now called Death by Paper Cuts. But you can go to Amazon Prime. Both of my specials are on there. Finding the Funny, and because listen, no matter what has happened, a comic has told a joke about it. So Finding the Funny and the Way After School special are on Amazon Prime. My column in the Weekly World News, they're doing their Kickstarter campaign. Be part of that. Be on the inside. At certain levels, we can have our own private little conversation. It's a great. You know who's behind the new Weekly World News is the gentleman. You want to support Broadway, the gentleman who brought us 1 million different laughs from Broadway, Joe Cochran. Did I freeze up?
Right, Joe Cochran. He's founded like Tony and Tina's Wedding or something like that. Where
That's right. I'm frozen up again.
Yeah, no, actually, we just got through that name, right? Joe Corcoran, and he's starting up the Weekly World News, for which you are writing. Do you have do you put your byline in Weekly World, or is it just everything byline free in that thing?
No, I put my byline in there because I want to make sure, and then you can just go watch. Then you can watch my YouTube channel with the podcast News from Abroad. So that'd be awesome. Follow me everywhere, Instagram. Don't follow me home from the grocery store. That's all.
Don't even, because she carries a brick now. This is the smartest. Do you have a website, or is it Tammy Pescatelli?
Yes, Pescatelli.com. It's under construction right now because I'm telling you, this is a good time to do it because my schedule was needed construction.
Well, I certainly want to. I want to ask you one more question while we can.
Sure, of course.
If this can happen, but which one can you, when you watch other stand-up comedians at this level of your career, can you enjoy them, or are you always dissecting? Are you always like, oh, I would do that joke a little differently, or if it really gets a big laugh, you get jealous, or can you just watch a stand-up comedian and go, funny?
Well, here's the thing. I love stand-up. So I'm a stand-up comedy fan and connoisseur and a purist. That was how I got even involved with all the chaos before, is because I'm a comedy purist. I was raised in this industry by people who protected stand-up a lot. So I love to watch people have laughs. I love to watch success. I'm not a jealous person because I think that's just something that you're either jealous or you're not. I'm more of what I do is when I watch someone like a Dave Chappelle or whatever, I gotta go, oh my God, I gotta throw everything away because this is junk. Well, everything in my act is junk. I gotta start again. And it makes me work hard. So I like that. Then there are times when I see someone and I thought, oh my gosh, there's that joke. God, how did that get there? Like, I'm very excited tonight. One of the best comedians of my generation is the host of SNL, Bill Burr.
Oh, Bill, yes, he's very
and
funny.
He's amazing. And he'll come up with jokes that I go, oh, how did I miss that? Oh, that's so beautiful. It's just right there. How did he get there? And I just love that. I'm a big fan of like I said, sarcasm and anger. So those are the ones that get me the most.
That's a story. I was born in a puddle of sarcasm and anger. I just the womb with me, and it just came dripping off me. But
that's right.
Without any sarcasm whatsoever, I must say that you have been an absolutely fantastic guest, Tammy Pescatelli. Everybody read her in Weekly World News. Everybody go see her comedy special.
I heard it. Thank you, Joyce.
We put the link in so that people can go there.
Instagram. I put her Instagram.
Your Instagram page. Follow her on Instagram. What is your Instagram?
Twitter, Facebook, and all you have to do is Google Italian comedian Tammy, and then it'll show you everything. If you
can't spell Pescatelli, and
you
can't spell
that.
Yeah, you can do it that way.
Tammy,
she's got a MySpace page. She's still, if you have a one.
I'm not Lisa Lampanelli, by the way, though, because last week I was accused of racism. People were saying, you said this word, you said that word, and and I said, what are you talking? I was watching your special, and you said this word, and I said, where would I have said? I barely say anything that's controversial, and turns out it was Lisa Lampanelli. God bless her, but that's how she was the Don Rickles of our generation. So
let me ask you. I do have one.
Go ahead.
Was there a joke that came to you in the past 26 years that you just, this is the most perfect joke?
Yes.
I mean, like that moment you're like,
yes.
Yeah. What was? Share it because you've told it.
I'll tell you. It was a joke that changed my life. Now listen, I'm going to say it. It may not be. If you're easily offended, and it was a different time, it's not going to be a swear really, but it was a different time. We support women. We're in a different time. But this was 2003. It was right before my first Tonight Show. My brother, who had married a girl at age 20, they were 20 and 21. He'd known her for 3 months. She was a horrible person. She had really been disrespectful to my parents, disrespectful to me. She left him within 2 months of being married because all I had said was slow down. You don't need to get married this early. You don't know each other. And she had come from 5 divorces. I just thought, let's just slow down. Let's just slow down and be engaged for a couple of years. But she got very offended. And she said, oh, you only say this because you're almost 30 and not married. She said it was very mean and very rude. Well, she left him. She cheated on him with his best friend, took everything, broke everybody's heart. 2 weeks before I went on the Tonight Show, I wrote a joke because I knew she was going to be watching, because she was very much about fame. She was very much about telling all her friends that I was her sister-in-law, no matter what. So I said, in my family, we tell the truth. If you're an idiot, we call you an idiot. If you're a dirt ball, we call you a dirt ball. If you're a whore, we call you my brother's wife. And it changed my career. It changed because it was my first joke from my real voice.
Oh my, yeah. Sometimes it takes you a horrible, horrible tragedy in your family to really make things go forward.
Right, because I didn't care if I tanked my set. It was like some old righteous ancient lift up my family honor, but it turned out to be one of the best jokes and people just loved it. And then I even was able to tag on to that because then she threatened to sue me. And I said, I would tell people she threatened to sue me. I said, but first she's got to prove she's not a whore. I'm like, who's a jury of her peers? They don't register at the polls. They swing on them, so. And people to this day will come and ask me about, now he's been married, now it's on him. It turns out it was my brother. He's been married 4 times since. So obviously he's the problem. But I said his wives are like reverse Russian nesting dolls. They just get bigger and uglier as time goes on. So, it's just what it is. Thank God, or I wouldn't have an act. That's all I could say.
I'm so glad I asked that question. Ladies and gentlemen, what a way to go out with Tammy Pescatelli. Delightful. Google her, find her in all her different permutations. You will get laughs.
You are one of the best interviewers that I have ever. I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of these. I'm not kidding. Imagine, I've been doing this for 26 years. And you literally are ask insightful questions, thoughtful questions. It really, really, really wonderful.
I don't think there's a word pshaw, but pshaw. Thank you ever so much. And all that reflected back in your glory too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I wish you so much more success and shalom to you.
Shalom.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
This always takes.
Get out of here.
Wonderful. Go. Find the thing, find the participant. And so bye-bye. She left. She figured out how to leave. None of the other guests know how to get out of here. I know how to get out of here. I play music. What? Aside from the fact that she said very lovely things about me, which is the most important thing. Wasn't that wonderful? Tammy Pescatelli, ladies and gentlemen.